Hello and welcome to Edshed. Today we're looking at my top tips for making gold in Sea of Thieves. Please like and subscribe, leave a comment, etc. Now I'd recommend watching to the end of the video as there's lots of good stuff, but in particular tips 4 and 5 I'm particularly proud of, and I haven't seen them elsewhere, so you should be super excited for those. So to start things off, we're going to look at how you can get unlimited chicken coops. This is one some of you may already be aware of, but I think it's a good place for us to start this top tips guide. To do this, you'll ideally need to have not bought any promotions from the Merchant Alliance. If you have, you can still do this, it's just going to cost you a little bit of gold to get the coops. By having no promotions, the voyage will cost you nothing, which means that you'll be able to start the voyage, collect the coops, then cancel the voyage without losing any of those coops. In the video you can see me doing this, and you'll see me loading up on coops. From what I've seen, you're going to be limited to 6 coops per port until the voyages refresh. Once you're loaded up on coops, I would recommend not cancelling the last voyage, as the chickens handed in as part of a voyage are worth 10 times more than the value of the chickens just sold. Now, the values of the chickens are as followed, but they do vary slightly. So for a white chicken it is 20 gold, for a speckled chicken it is 40 gold, for a black chicken it is 80 gold, and for a gold chicken it is 120 gold. Now all of these prices, as I say, will be times by 10 if they are handed in as part of a voyage. If you have a promotion, you'll no longer be able to get the chickens for free. But the merchant quests are still worth doing, as you can cancel them and you can select the types of animals that you're going to hand in by cancelling them and in effect looking for a particular voyage that is going to be the most profitable. Now these type of voyages are the voyages that will ask for golden animals, so for instance the golden chicken or the golden striped pig. Now this is different to the other types of voyages, as with the gold hoarder missions you could just walk out there and come back with half a dozen castaway chests. Now I would rather know that I'm going to get 2,000 gold from a merchant quest rather than run the risk of getting several crap chests or several crap skulls. Now that's the big key difference, and as I say, you can easily increase the amount of money you're getting simply by throwing away any merchant voyage quests that aren't going to bring you back enough gold. I tend to look for quests that are going to bring back in the region of 2,000 gold. So tip number 2 is a dead simple one, and it's just to keep an eye out for shipwrecks. Most of you already know how important this is, but I'm going to mention it anyway because it's so important. Now I have a few tips for doing shipwrecks, as I've actually been in groups where people have missed 2 or more chests because they haven't thoroughly checked the ship. So it's really important to be methodical in what you do. Now I always start by checking the captain's quarters, then coming up for some air, followed by going to the top deck, thoroughly searching that, including searching behind the stairs because that's where a lot of the chests that get missed are. You then come up for some more air before finally going down to do the bottom set, and usually towards the very back of it you'll see an area that kind of looks like a prison, and it's by there that you tend to find the best loot in these sunken ships. It also tends to be, especially on the deep ships, the place where people are most likely to forget to look. Now when it comes to bringing the chests out, especially on the sunken ships, the really deep down ones, you don't want to worry about dropping the loot in order to get to the surface quickly to get some more air. Any of the chests will actually float towards the surface, meaning that you can potentially just pick them up off the top, and things such as the sunken skulls, you will be able to just leave them floating where they are, go back down and pick them up afterwards. So don't be worried about letting go in order to get to the surface to get some more air. If you're drowned, then you start to run some serious risks, so don't do that. Tip number 3 is a simple one, but it's really important to remember. Always cash your stuff in when you can. The more loot you have on you, the more you stand to lose if you get pirated or if you get disconnected. Now I've been disconnected when I've had thousands of gold's worth of loot on me. Don't let it happen to you. because there is nothing you can do about the DC. Also, the more stuff you have on you, the longer it takes you to unload, thus meaning that you spend a longer period of time as a sitting duck for somebody to come and start stealing your stuff. Now, continuing with the theme of not losing your stuff to start with, is to make sure that you don't get into fights when you have stuff on board. Use your crow's nest to look for ships and avoid them before they ever get close to you. Now, I've read in some guides people saying that you should hide your loot in your crow's nest. This is a terrible, terrible idea. And it's a terrible, terrible idea because if ever I'm out and I'm deciding to be a pirate, the first place I look is the crow's nest to figure out if you have anything worth stealing. If there's nothing up there, I may just decide, yeah, they probably haven't got anything, I'm not even going to bother. So don't go putting all of your loot in the crow's nest. People can see it even if they're not on your ship. That is the worst place for your loot. Instead, keep it out of sight and try and spread it out throughout the ship. Now, on the galleon you've got a lot more options of where you can do this. One of the best hiding places is actually behind the captain's chair in the captain's quarters, as well as on separate levels, and this just means that it slows anybody who's managed to board you down if they're making off with your loot. Bear in mind as well that hiding your loot isn't the be-all and end-all for keeping your loot safe. If somebody decides to sink your ship, all of your loot will become visible to them once your ship has disappeared. So keep out of the range of people's cannons, and you do that by being alert and using your crow's nest to find ships on the horizon before they ever get close to you. So tip number 4. This is where we start to make the big bucks really fast. And as we all know, teamwork makes the dream work, and Sea of Thieves is no exception. If you have some friends who also play Sea of Thieves and they're playing with other people, then when they're doing really well, ask them to let you know and to give you an invite when they have space on their crew. By doing this, you can potentially jump around a few different games if you've got lots of friends and keep up a steady stream of cashing in. Now, they will likely have already done a lot of the hard work for you. This means instead of playing 20 minutes and getting one voyage's worth of loot, you can play 20 minutes and get several voyages worth of loot. My friend actually invited me to a game where they were going to port, and I got 10k from just going to port with them. So by having friends playing separately and communicating to let each other know when they're doing really well and they have loot to spare and space on their crew, everybody does a lot better. Now, the real moral of this story is that a galleon should always have at least a 4-person crew when turning in its loot. And so if you find yourself in a situation where you have got a lot of loot on board your galleon and you've only got 2 or 3 people taking it into port, you should definitely be giving your friends a message to let them know that you have got a lot of loot and we need somebody else to share it with. So that is a top tip for people to play together. So tip number 5 really follows on from tip number 4, but is more geared to players who don't have a big friend list to rely on. So the tip is all about being fussy about the crews that you join and how to look for a good party when you're going through games. So I've had games where I've spent half an hour and we haven't left the port, and I've had other games where in half an hour we're cashing in a few thousand in booty. A good sign to look for is, does the ship you're on already have loot? If it does, there's a great chance that the people you're playing with know what's going on, plus they've already made some gold and you're going to get to share in that, so that's a fantastic bonus for you. The second thing to look for is, are people talking in the voice chat and being respectful? If people are being friendly and cooperative in the voice chat, then the ship, in my experience, is going to do fantastic. So grab your mic and join in. If you're shy, just trust me, go for it, because you're probably going to make some really good friends by doing that, and that will help leading back into tip number 4, where they will hopefully as well be able to invite you into other ships in the future where they're doing really well. Now, if the people you're playing with are being dicks, then that is a really big red flag, which leads us nicely into the warning signs that you should leave your crew. Now, the first thing is, are the crew being rude to you or somebody else? If that happens, just leave, as there is no amount of loot worth listening to somebody being abusive. Now, there are loads of nice people out there to meet, so don't waste your time with dicks. Just drop out and find a new crew. Remember, there are plenty of pirates in the sea. There's also a life lesson in this somewhere, and maybe you should consider that in your real life as well. There are always plenty of pirates in the sea. The second big sign it's time to find your new crew is no one is talking and no one is on the ship, and the ship is still in port. If this happens, then jump on your mic and say hi. Maybe try and coax some other people out of being shy and get them involved and start to get things on the road. But if nothing's happened within 5 minutes, maybe 10 if you want to be really, generous, then the likelihood is they're not going to be a productive crew. Say goodbye, leave, and find somebody else. There's plenty of crews out there that are really friendly and really productive for you to join. So hopefully you've enjoyed these tips and you've learned some useful things. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you on the high seas soon.